Hello everyone, this is FantasyEsque and welcome back to The Sims 4 Vampire Amazon with the Salazar Coven. Before we begin, I want to say a very special welcome to my channel members. Thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it immensely. We are picking up in a different area of the Salazar territory than we normally start off in. We're not in Willow Creek, we are actually in Brindleton Bay. And the reason for this is that our lovely Queen Wisteria has decided to finally act on Lady Oriana's suggestion. Is it Oriana? Yes, it is. For a second, I was like, Ophelia. Who else do we have? Oriana. We have a bunch. Persephone. No, I'm going down the wrong line. But she took her scholar's advice on reclaiming some of the territory that has been lost from previous generations, and she wants to reclaim Castle Narkissa, the place where her grandmother ruled from. So the champion has been sent out to essentially scout the area and see what has become of the old castle. And along with her is our newly aged up immortal Princess Aphrodite Salazar, who is carrying an umbrella because she doesn't have the sun resistance, and I think Isadora only has 2 out of the 3 sun resistance, so hopefully the 2 of them will be fine. But our princess, guys, I've been training her, and she now is a master vampire, if I'm not mistaken, and she has essentially all of the basic powers that she needs to start physically training with Isadora. And once she beats Isadora in a vampiric duel, she can challenge officially her own mother for the crown. So we are really close to the end of this particular generation. This essentially reclaiming of Castle Narkissa is the last thing that we really have to do before we start preparing for a brand new queen and a brand new castle and new generation of coven ladies. So I am very excited, but without further ado, let's dive right in and take a look at our princess. Now, I did release a makeover video yesterday night, so hopefully you guys have seen that. But this is our lovely heiress. I went for a dark green color for her outfits. I know it's really close to the teal we gave Yuki, but I don't know, I was kind of just feeling the green. And this hair, so I was thinking of a few different options for hair color. I mean, maybe we could have gone with the traditional, like, Salazar white, which Athena also had, and then Narkissa had pink, so we could have gone pink, because we haven't had another queen that has had pink hair. And then we had purple with wisteria, so lilac. But then I figured, you know what? One of the princesses that Aphrodite really looks like to me from the distant past is Princess Cassandra. I don't know if you guys remember her. She was Sheba's eldest daughter who unfortunately died while she was training to become the next, become the next queen. She had this bluish, like pale bluish, almost green hair color. So in homage to her, I went ahead and gave Aphrodite this beautiful shade. She kind of looks like a sea witch to me. I don't know if you guys get the same vibe. She gives me Sea Witch vibes, and I flippin' love it. But look at how gorgeous she is, and the hair goes so well with her eyes. I mean, look at her. Ah! I can see Athena there. I can see Cassandra. I can see a lot of the previous Salazars in Aphrodite. But yeah, okay, let's dive right in. Let's dive right in. Isadora is with her as well. Now, another reason why the queen is sending the princess along with Isadora is that now that she's ready for like her physical training with the champion, I think the queen is hoping that they will get closer from this task, from this assignment, and that it'll be easier for Aphrodite to be mentored by Isadora, by her aunt, if she has that good relationship with the champion. So we're doing that, and she's an immortal now, so this is kind of like her first official task after becoming an immortal to do something important for the coven. But okay, we are right at the gates over here, and if we turn around, our lovely Castle Narkissa that was like right at the edge of this kind of, I wouldn't say cliffs, but we have some high ground here and beautiful seas, beaches. Now, the queen doesn't want to reclaim all of Brindleton Bay. I think her eyes are just on this patch of territory where we have the old castle, then we have some beaches. So she wants to reclaim these beaches that we have. Now, this was a little garden spot that we didn't really visit when we were playing with her like 2 generations ago. Queen Narkissa, and then we have that little spot where we used to keep our magical cats and our fairies, if you remember. And then we had this forest which sprung up out of nowhere at some point, and then we had like the last remaining forest folk living here until they kind of moved away. But this territory is the space that Wisteria wants to reclaim, and at some point they might, start converting it to other things. I think they'll keep the castle, but maybe the other areas they might change to something else. Kind of like how we did with Oasis Springs, but oh my goodness, I miss this place! Ah, it was so beautiful, and it still is so beautiful. Look at this. Look at this, guys. Just so nice to come back here and see what this is all about. But let us take these two. Now, unfortunately, because this is an abandoned castle, nobody's actually in here, we can't get these guys to go inside and take a look. But then again, this mission they're on is kind of like a scouting mission mainly. But we can go, I think, into the yards. So that's exactly what Aphrodite and Isadora are going to do. They are going to come here together. And oh, look at that sunlight, so pretty. This was a really pretty castle in my opinion. Very lovely. We're going to head on inside. And they are going to do a little bit of investigation to see the state of everything so they can report it back to the queen. And another thing I've noticed, in the current castle, I don't think we built any place for executions. Like in the older castles, we had places for execution. So with, actually, did we for Athena? We did. With Castle Sheba, we had the execution chamber, and then we have the fire tribute chamber. And I think in the dungeon, we have, we have a place to drown Sims, as mean as that sounds. In this castle, we had an area to drown Sims here, which looks very pretty. And then we had this area could kind of burn them in the sun over there. And then I think with Athena, we had one spot at the back somewhere where we could burn Sims. Not that we used it much. But yeah, okay. Let's go and take a look at this area. So more than anything, they're kind of just going to hop from place to place outside and have a scan of this area. So okay, now they're taking a look. This is the training grounds that we had previously. It's the old training grounds. And then we have this maze, which is where quite a few of our Sims died. Lady Morgana, in fact, drowned I think she drowned Lilith, Lady Lilith, at the time, over here as a blood sacrifice to have a baby girl, but she ended up having a boy anyways. So that was kind of sad. This area where I think the vampires had their remembrance, like this is where Narkissa would bring everyone out to remember the vampires of old. So, okay, they're taking a look at this spot, and I think this is going to be a fascinating trip for Aphrodite as well. I mean, she's never been much into history, I feel, but Isadora has pretty much lived at the ancient Generation 1 Castle Sheba for her entire, like, immortal life, her adult life. So I think she's very attached to her family history, and I think she, as much as she is evil and she loves causing mayhem, she reveres the vampires of old because of how vicious they were and all of those things. And I think coming back here, even though, I don't know, in my opinion, Narkissa was the weakest queen, but still, she was Sheba's daughter. I feel like coming to this castle for Isadora would be a, like, deeply personal thing. And something that she would be reverent to, because she would kind of see all of these pieces of the past that the old vampires used to interact with, and things they used to practice, things they used to do, just thinking of the fact that the old queens used to walk here, and their Isadora's mother? Yeah, Isadora's mother, Athena, and Aphrodite's grandmother, Athena. Actually, Narkissa was her great grandmother, yeah. That they kind of were raised here, they grew up here, and they did things. So, with Aphrodite being a Sim that is influenced by others in her circle, right now Isadora is in that tight, close circle, and I feel like Isadora's reactions to all of this is going to influence Aphrodite a little bit, and she's going to start thinking a bit more deeply about their history and their culture, because Isadora is telling her that it is important, and if someone in power says it's important, then Aphrodite is going to listen, because she listens more than she thinks on her own. So, okay, we've looked at that. Let's come along here. We'll take a look at this area, which was kind of... Whose area was this? I think this was not Zelda, Freya? I think this was like Freya's kind of space, where she used to the garden, and Morgana's space more than anything else. Yeah, they have like the little yoga area out here. Okay, she's taking a look at everything. She's taking it all in. And then this is where our champion at the time used to come and play and relax. I think this used to be kind of the area to throw a basketball and just, one, get their fitness up, but two, have a good time with the other vampires outside. And then I think Athena spent a lot of time along with Queen Narkissa actually meditating over here by this waterfall. So I think they're going to come and take a look at this, and they'll pass the court along the way as well. Just look at this. I imagine they would feel, at least Isadora, probably both of them to a degree, since they are both master vampires, they would actually feel remnants of old magic, old vampire magic, and dark magic over here. So there we go. And then we have, of course, the mines, which unfortunately, again, because this is an abandoned castle, we can't exactly go down there. But this used to be, I think, Ophelia's mine? Or was it Persephone's? It was one. I think it was Ophelia's mine. Yeah. So you can kind of see bits and pieces of kind of the old crystals and whatnot. Well, we could for a second. It's kind of going off now. That's fine. See, you can see bits and pieces of stuff down there. Okay, and then we have, let's see. I'll probably come into this area and just take a look here. They can't go into the castle just yet. I mean, it is supposed to just be a scouting trip, so we're not going to get ahead of ourselves. But the flowers here are really pretty as well. Okay, so they're taking a look at this area, the two back entrances, and then of course we have this little overlooking like passage. It's kind of like a bridge almost. And I think the children's quarters was there, and then we had the birth chamber right over there, if you guys remember. So there we go, and then the queen's chamber's up top. Now, I think that has been a enlightening trip for Aphrodite, and now that they have gone ahead and had a bit of a scan of the old palace, they are going to essentially, or the old castle, they're going to head back to Willow Creek, and they're going to report their findings to the queen and basically let her know that most of the palace, like most of the castle, is actually intact, and it hasn't really fallen too much into disrepair. I feel like not nearly as much as Castle Athena has. So the queen is going to send some soldiers to reclaim this area and kind of reclaim the beaches over here. So we'll go ahead and do that. We'll let these ladies take off. Thank goodness the energy is up, and I'll see you guys in a bit. So the ladies have been at Willow Creek speaking to the queen, and a group of soldiers have been sent to reclaim Castle Narkissa. Now, after the operations that went on, basically nobody had power over this kind of empty territory that was more or less abandoned by Athena when she took over Oasis Springs. It was very easy for the soldiers to come in and take control. And now that everything has been settled here, the queen has chosen Duncan Narkisssa, the son of Lady Oriana and Lord Art, twin brother of Yuki Narkisssa, to be the castle keeper at this place. So he's going to be stationed here permanently to make sure that they never lose this castle again. So this is Duncan. It's his first time away from the Willow Creek Embassy. He hasn't really actively taken part in life as a soldier. This is kind of the first mission that he's been given, the first task he's been given. He recently got his armor fitted, so this is all like very exciting and a big deal, but I want to take a look at him because I don't think we've seen him since he's aged up. But this is him. This is Yuki's twin. He is quite cute looking. Now, he does not have sharp ears. I don't remember if Yuki has sharp ears. Do you guys remember? I don't. I want to say she does, but I don't know. She might not actually have sharp ears. But they're not identical. That's why I'm not entirely certain, but he is a good-looking sim. I'm not gonna lie. He is a good-looking sim. He has a very narrow face, I will say. Very, very narrow face. But definitely a good blend of both his parents. Now, he's inside Castle Narkissa, and we're going to take this chance to actually revisit the interior of the castle now that he is kind of in charge of this place. So, first things first, we have the throne room, which we haven't seen in a long time. Oh my goodness. This is such a pretty throne room. This was a good flippin' castle. But there we go. We have this lovely area. So obviously he is not going to be sitting on the throne or anything like that. He is going to respect the spaces of the old queens, and he's probably going to take some quarter that he doesn't have to feel that bad about. But okay, he's going to take a look at this spot. This would be a great place if any of the future queens came to visit. for them to have an area to hold court and whatnot. And then if we go along this side, this is where we had our training room for the champions. Now, I imagine as a soldier, Duncan would actually really appreciate this particular spot because he can train there. He can keep his skills up, of course. It is sunny out, so it probably would be dangerous to send him to do things too much. Okay, and then we have this garden area, of course. I want to temporarily just bring him out here so we can take a look. But I think this, guys, is where Genevieve died. I think this garden is where Genevieve died, if you guys remember. I think it was purely an accident, but at that point, in the story, Narkissa had gotten very paranoid because of Morgana and a bunch of other things. And she ended up killing Kennedy Savage, the second scholar under Queen Narkissa. So after Lilith died, Lilith was a scholar. Then we had Kennedy Savage. And then after Kennedy Savage died, we had Swan Knox, who is the grandmother of Oriana Noxa right now, if I'm not mistaken. So Genevieve just accidentally died here, and unfortunately, Kennedy was the first one to discover her body, and Narkissa was paranoid, and she thought that Kennedy killed her daughter, so she put Kennedy to death. Yeah, it's a bit of a something, but he's gonna just take a look at this particular spot. And then we had the kitchens back here. Oh my goodness, this brings back memories. Okay, we had the kitchens. Now this place Duncan may frequent, I'm not entirely sure. There we go, look at this. It was a very quaint kitchen, but I feel like it was bigger than what we have at Castle Wisteria right now. Seems like it, doesn't it? Kind of seems like it. Look at that. It's actually, these spaces were really pretty. These spaces were really pretty. And then if we go across to this side, we'll cut across here since we've already looked at the outside when we were scouting. This was the entertainment room, so our scholar kind of had claim over this particular area. And the artifacts he brought back were studied in this spot. Art was done here. The ladies played games and music quite often as well. And we had some fires. So I think we had executions here, and some of those fires kind of broke out through the door, and we still got soot in certain places from that. But here we had a pond for the queen's fishes. Now, I think back when we had this installed, we were thinking that there were going to be 4 different types of queens, and depending on what kind of queen it is, they would have like this pond with a certain kind of fish. But I quickly abandoned that idea because I didn't want to like stick my queens into one category. Like, I wanted them to be flexible more or less, and I wanted them to be unique. I didn't want to just categorize them as like this type of queen. But there we go. Like, for example, with Wisteria, she's a tyrant, yes, but that doesn't mean that she is absolutely out to destroy everyone and everything. Obviously not the case. She is a tyrant, but she's also improved a lot of things for the male vampires, which previous queens have never done. So, you know, whether or not she's good might sometimes depend on the perspective you're looking at her from. And then we had the library here, which is quite a bit smaller than what we had, or what we currently have at Castle Wisteria, but it's still a very pretty library in my opinion. It was quaint, but it was nice. I love these bookshelves, the way they're stacked and whatnot. Okay, and then let's go upstairs. Let's go, oh wait, we could go to the dungeon. Let's go to the dungeon! Okay, oh my goodness. The dungeons. I get so confused by how big these dungeons are. The dungeons are flippin' huge. Okay, wait. Where is he? He's in the library. Do you want to go out? Let's come out here and actually go to the... we'll go to the Crystal Caves. Because we didn't get to see the Crystal Caves with Isadora and Princess Aphrodite. We'll go to the Crystal Caves. We'll check them out. And then we'll go to the dungeon. And then Maybe we'll go upstairs. Should we save the dungeon for last? No, we'll go upstairs last. Maybe I'll go to the... No, we'll go upstairs last. We'll go upstairs last. There's just so many, like, areas of this castle to visit. It's all a bit confusing. Okay. So here we go. Our crystal caves. So this is... Oh my goodness, can you come down here? Dude. Come down here. Yes, there we go. So this is, I think, where our coven got its funds from. So was it the brood mother? I think it was the brood mother of the time. She actually, was it the brood mother? I want to say it was. It was either Ophelia or Persephone, the brood mother or the brood mother in line, who actually discovered this crystal cave, and they were like mining crystals and metals to use as funds for the coven. Yeah, the royal coven. So there we go. We'll inspect this place and visit it. Duncan's also making sure that everything is in order, of course. He probably needs to give an in-depth report to the queen about how everything is. Okay, now we'll go down to the huge-ass dungeon. Just look at this. Where's the staircase that comes down? Okay, we start off here. He's gonna come in. Hopefully he can access all the rooms and they're not locked off to him. But my goodness, I completely, like, I remember the layout of Castle Sheba, mainly because we visit quite often, and also it was the original castle, so it's like branded into my memory. But half of these rooms I completely forgot about. Like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That's another thing. Like, as you play over the generation, you might be adding rooms and things that kind of spread underground, and then you end up having like this huge dungeon area that is different from, you know, what you'd normally have. So let's come on down here. So this was the priestess's kind of private garden that she had, and her area in this particular castle was like spread out over a few different rooms, but this was one of them. This is where she had all of her strange and magical plants. And then, let's see. Okay. Okay. Well, this room here, who did it belong to? Who did this room belong to? I am so curious because it is such a beautiful looking room, and I am confident that this room was attached at the very end. I think this was one of the rooms we introduced towards the very end, and I think we had our first alchemist when we moved into this castle, but I don't know if Melina used to live down here, or if one of the daughters lived down here. Like, I don't remember. Do you guys remember? Because it's just, her bedroom's beautiful, but I don't, not occurring at all who actually stayed down here. I know this bedroom over is where, I think, is this where Genevieve stayed? This is where our heiress stayed, if I'm not mistaken. I think Genevieve and maybe Athena at one point. But this was the princess's quarters. Very, very pretty. This was the heiress's quarters. And then beside it, this is where we had the prophecy chamber. So you can see our cow plant is actually dead in here. We had our prophecy chamber in this particular spot, so it was a separate room as well. And if we head down, this was supposed to be the butler's room. Oh my goodness. So I could see kind of Duncan taking this spot for himself, or he could go next door and actually take a coffin, if that's something he prefers. But we had, oh my goodness, we had this area for a butler, and then the room over we had coffins. So I mean, Duncan could just use this coffin. It was the monarch's coffin, but I mean, we don't have a queen right here right now. So I think he could do that. Now, if we go past this, this is a labyrinth. This particular area was our spa place, which I think was also added quite late. So we didn't really get to use it nearly as much. but this would be a good place to get wellness up. If you go down from here, we had some interesting rooms. So we had a dungeon, right? I mean, this whole place is a dungeon, but this is where we had the prisons in the dungeon, and this is where Morgana actually locked a bunch of our coven members up when she took over the castle. So she temporarily had them here. Now from this place, we have kind of a doorway and this door that leads into separate areas. If you come down here, this is where we have our battle arena, more or less, the training room. Battle room? I don't even know what to call this, but this is where our vampires did their sparring and practicing of their skills, mainly for sparring. So there we go. And then if you come back down this place, we had the Treasury. So this is where we had our Treasury with this giant chest and this area. So it kind of wraps around. Like you come down, and I think initially when we built this place, we had like this area and then we added other things, but it wraps around the priestess's garden. If you think about it. So there we go. This is where we had all of our treasures, which we moved when we moved castles. Now another place that we have but was never actually discovered or looked into much was this particular area. So this was a hidden room that I think Kennedy Savage built before she was killed off. It was supposed to be kind of a secret place for the scholars to use, only scholars who had that bat ability, but nobody has ever been able to find this room. It's kind of just been left alone since Kennedy died. Nobody knows of its existence really, so that's also there, that hidden room. Now let's go upstairs. Oh my goodness, a lot of this castle is like still intact, which I'm surprised by. Probably because I didn't use too much. Like there's some things that are missing or different, but not a lot. Probably because I didn't use a crazy amount of CC when I was making this particular castle. Like with Castle Athena, I used so much CC with that, and because I took out all that CC when we moved to Willow Creek, that castle right now looks very different because the game has replaced a bunch of things and gotten rid of some things as well. So that, I feel like, has truly fallen into disrepair, is how I explain it. And things have either been changed by new occupants or they've been damaged and not replaced. So they, over time is looking different, or maybe the magic has faded from it. But Narkissa is like, this castle doesn't really feel like it's changed much at all. Okay, and this was kind of like a common room. And look, we have a picture of our lovely Queen Narkissa right over there. It is the same image, I think, that we have placed in Castle Sheba, like in the Hall of Queens. We have that. Okay, so this was the birth chamber where all of our generation 3 babies were born. So Freya was born here, Athena was born here, Genevieve. Who else did we have? Who else did we have? Hold on a second. Let me go back up the family tree, man. Let me go back up the family tree. Was Persephone born here? I think she was. Persephone. If we go back up the Rana reigns, Ursula, Cynthia? No. Cynthia was back. Cynthia was born in Castle Sheba. Ursula was born here. Yeah, I think Ursula was born here. Quite a few Sims, essentially. Quite a few. Okay, and then this was the children's quarters. So this is also intact, as you can see. We had our little kiddos staying here. And it never really felt like we were running out of space for whatever reason. So we had that, and then we had our 2 bathrooms. Now we also had an alchemist towards the end of Generation 2. So this place, which I think was initially empty, we ended up putting a cauldron, and then we had this fireplace, and we had shelves for all of the potions. So this is where our first ever alchemist, Lady Melina Elkandrica, worked from. There we go. And then if you go up a level, you finally reach the Queen's quarters. So she had this area to greet guests in. I suppose it's like a lobby of sorts. And then this was her quarters, her little area, which certain things have been replaced, as you can see, because I did UCC in her bedroom. But there we go. We have like little balconies with chess tables, and the Queen used to sleep up here from time to time. But really, after we got an alchemist, they never used to sleep much at all. So let's see. Okay, nothing too important in terms of books lying around, which is absolutely fine. But that's pretty much it for our castle that we have now reclaimed. I'm thinking that Melina used to stay in that bedroom in the dungeon, because everyone else used to, like, Melina used to work up here, but everyone else used to sleep in the coffins, and we don't have any other bedrooms. So I think this bedroom here that I was confused about, I think this belonged to our alchemist. So Lady Melina used this. Yeah. Interesting. Okay, well, Duncan's here. Duncan's gonna take care of this place, and while he does, we are going to be busy focusing on training up our princess. So basically doing vampiric spas with Aphrodite and Isadora until the princess beats Isadora. And once she has done that, guys, she can pretty much go ahead and challenge the queen, and we can get the next generation underway. But okay, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Bye-bye.